Alrighty, we are going to finish up our to-do list app. We got pretty far in it yesterday, and then we stopped yesterday to do an alumni interview, so we're going to finish it up today. Some students in the class finished it up on their own. That's cool. If you want to take off on your own and finish it up on your own, if you're ready to do that, I thought that was cool that some felt capable and ready. But if not, I still think we're in the early learning phases. I also mentioned yesterday, I genuinely think for us to be even this far within 2 days, like we've covered a lot of ground in 2 days. Certainly have a lot more to cover though. So I'm happy with the learning that's taken place so far, but more to go. npm run dev is my command to launch this, and just take a look at its current state where we left it off. We can check it, we can delete it. Everything is running out of RAM, nothing is persisting to a hard drive yet, so we can delete tasks. I can click on edit task, and this is not ultimately what I want to do. And so probably what we're looking at here, now that I've had a moment to think about it, this is a label. We could just flip this label into a text box, and this edit button becomes a save button kind of thing. And the delete button goes away. And so when we click the edit task, instead of seeing this, we just flip the label into a text box is the direction we're going. And then another thing that I just, even though this wasn't in our to-do list item as far as what we're building here, if I bring this back over, having this persist to a hard drive is useful because local storage is cool. And so we'll also add that. And then finally, we'll refactor this into a list and list items, just because that's pretty normal to have child components. We're going to go another layer deep just to get that practice of doing that. So those are the items at hand that, at least off the top, that I want to accomplish. Okay, so let's kind of get this back and forth. Here's our to-do list. Notice we're taking our list of tasks, which are up here, and mapping them where each task, we are spitting it out in a list item. And kind of statically, we've got this label here wrapping a input that's showing our task. What I'll do is each item here has an is completed. I'm going to add another property called edit mode. Edit mode, and make it false. And so by default, none of these are going to be in edit mode. Edit mode of false. Edit mode of false. But if we click on this edit task, it'll flip that property into true, and when that property turns into true, we're going to show different controls. So let's maybe wire that event up. Like we have this on edit task. We send the task in. We spread the task. We get the index of that task, and we set the new task sub index dot. Okay, this is where we're going to start making some changes. Instead of the task, being updated, we're going to set the edit mode to true. And then we're going to update our tasks. Okay, so when we click that button on a task, we're going to set the edit mode of that task to true. And then we're gonna write again. I'm gonna show something here. This JSX, where we're writing JavaScript inside, this is an example. This right here. We talk about the two styles of programming. I want to say deterministic. Of course, that's not the word. Gosh. Come on, help me out. What's the word I'm looking for? Not deterministic. My brain is failing me. Come on, teacher. You should know this. They don't even both. They used to put it right on their homepage that this is a different style of programming. 1 second. Yeah, thank you. Declarative programming is what we're talking about. Declarative versus imperative. So let's do declarative versus imperative. Okay, let's see what the Bard AI from Google says about declarative and imperative in programming. Okay, so here's Bard AI from Google. Declarative programming describes what a program does, while imperative programming describes how it should do something. All right, focus on that. Declarative programming describes what a program does. So let's go back to our code and take a look at declarative programming. This is declarative programming. This is an example of declarative programming. The program checks a box or it doesn't check a box. We don't tell it how to check the box. We say based on the data, the box is either checked or unchecked. We don't go into JavaScript and select the ID and say .check the box. Is everyone with me there? You see the difference? What the program does versus how it should do something. Right? So when we're writing JSX, this is declarative programming. We just say, hey, based on the state of the data, do something. Based on the state of the data, do something. So we do a lot of this in JSX. We write these kind of if-else statements. We write these ternary operators. We write these Boolean conditions that kind of assess the state of the data. And based on this data, I want you to do something. You don't tell it how to do it. You just say, do this. Check the box. Based on the state of the data. Okay? Does that make a little bit more sense about declarative programming? Jacob, I'm looking at you because when I was talking about declarative programming, you were giving some feedback the other day.
Yeah, I figured it out.
You got it. Okay. So we're going to write something also a little bit more declaratively, right? So this label right here, well, I want this label, and whether I indent it or not, I'm not going to indent it right now, but I'm going to say, okay, well, based on the state of my data, I want to show that. So I'm going to wrap all of this in some curlies. And I'm going to say task dot, wait a minute, not is completed. We just said edit mode. Task dot edit mode. So based on the task, is it in edit mode? If that's true, I want to do one thing. If it's false, I want to do something else. This becomes the false. Now this is really not and if it's true, I'm just going to say something like welcome to edit mode. Now that closes on line 56. And this is just my draft, okay? I'm not sure, but basically I'm looking at these lines and trying to get it somewhat indented in a way that makes sense. Is the task in edit mode? If it is, say welcome to edit mode. If it's not, show those controls. Okay, so when I refresh, none of these are in edit mode, so it's showing me those controls. And if I click welcome to edit mode, there I see welcome to edit mode. All right, so it is working the way we've coded it. Now, edit mode, well, I'm probably going to get rid of the delete task and the edit task buttons. So I'm probably going to go ahead and put these buttons. I'm going to wrap these buttons into my false block right here. And why is it's not liking that? So let's talk about why. So right now we've got one parent, which is the label. Okay, so this is all in my false block, and your false block needs a I don't know, it needs a single parent. So I'm just going to make a dummy div. And then now inside of that div, I can put my buttons back. Oh, I lost my buttons. Let me get my buttons back. Control Z. Bring my buttons back. Cut. Okay. So again, my false block. Here's my label. Now, I kind of wonder about putting, instead of an unnecessary div, I'm going to try this React fragment. Okay, that'll work. And I'll paste my buttons in. Okay, so now as soon as I hit edit mode, the buttons go away as well. Doing good so far. The true block is now right here. And what do we need in the true block? By the way, I'm not in love with this if else, but whatever. My code style is a little sloppy if you ask me. Let's start with the fragment. I can clean this up. And let's put the task in a input. Let's see, save task or cancel. Okay. Now this is not going to work. So here is our text box that shows the task.task on change. This is not. This is not the right. We need to write a function to update the task. Function on save task. This is going to go on this on save task. This is on the save task button. So here's our text box. We need to also write a function to update the value of that task. So let's see here. Function on edit task. And we're going to pass in the event and the task. And then we're going to set the dot task equal to EVT target value. And now this becomes on edit task. On edit task, you pass in the value and the task element. It says on edit task is already defined. Okay, we'll call this on update task. I got to think about my naming convention here, because edit was putting it on edit mode. Updating it is changing the task itself. Okay, so if the task is in edit mode, we show a text box with the task's value. When we change, we update the text in the text box. We need to have a button to save the task. And then we also, this is a cancel button. I haven't flushed that logic out yet. That's probably not going to work because there's autofill, but we'll flush that out. Let's just check it in its current state. On save task needs to take it out of edit mode. That's the last thing to do. Oh, I did that already. So edit mode is false. Okay, good. Spread the task, take it out of edit mode, and set the tasks. Okay. Okay, let's see what breaks. Edit task. Okay, I don't like the length, but we got the idea. Learn React. Okay, I'm noticing on change handler is not working. I can't change my text box. So let's look at that. So here's my text box, on change, on update tasks, spread my tasks, get my index of task, set the new task of index task to the event target value. Okay, I'm going to console log a couple of things. On update called EVT is event target value. EVT target value is event target value. And task is an object, so let's stringify the object. JSON stringify task. Okay, so this should run on change of the text box. Edit task. Okay, cannot read properties of value. Good, good. We got our error. Line 52. Oh, we pass in an event object. This is not here. We got to send in the whole event object. My bad. So here, this takes an event, we send event in. That was my problem. I was sending in the property, not the object. Okay, refresh, clear the console. Edit the task. Good. Okay, it's having a problem converting something to JSON. I now don't need line 52. And now, edit task. Boom. Edit task. Edit task. I'll pause here. So, we got an on update task function, on save task function. These are two new functions that I wrote. And on edit task, I don't think that's going to work because it puts edit mode into true. So I'm going to have to, I'll just say on cancel click. And we'll write using a different syntax, right? Here is a different syntax for creating a function. Same difference though. Spread the task, set the edit mode to false, set new task. So there's my on cancel click, send in the task. Okay, so now if I hit edit task and hit cancel, it just goes back. Edit task, cancel, edit task, cancel. So even if I type in some letters, there's a bug. So it still saves it. So cancel, still saves it. The reason being is that we do here we update the task when the user types, and here we still save it. So that's a bug real quick. Let me think about that. Okay, so here's ultimately what's happening. On update task, when the user types, we are modifying the task right here, essentially saving. So instead of resaving the array as we're doing here, let's make another hook. Const update task here, update task, set update task equal to empty. Okay, so we're gonna on update task, I'm gonna hold off on this. What I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna set update task EVT target value. At this point I don't need this task object setting in, but I'm just updating this update task string to whatever's in the value. And then on save task, I'll set new tasks subindex.task equals update task. So when they click save, then I actually update what's in the array and set the edit mode to false when they actually click save. And now I could probably get rid of that extra parameter. And now on cancel click, Really, I think we just got to set the edit mode to false. Let's just test in its current state. I think we just got to, okay, edit task. Okay, we got to call the right function down here. This is calling on update task. Let me see if I'm getting any errors. No errors. Edit task. Okay. On update task. Okay, let's take, oh, here. Now this value shows task.task, but oh, that becomes the trick, because that's still showing the old, and here we created a new. Think about this. So if I put the new task in here, which is what? Which is update task. I need to initialize the update task somewhere. Okay, so here, this becomes update task, but when I go into edit mode, this is where I go into edit mode. I need to also call my set update task here to be task.task. There we go. So that should there we go. 1, 2, 3. Now it's gone. Edit task. 1, 2, 3. Save, and it's applied. Yeah, I know I did that fast. So I could talk it through. What do you need to see? So here's one thing on edit task. I also had to set my update task so that I can show my update task in the value. Yeah, I did that kind of fast.
Do we still need to send task to update task?
No, so on update task you can get rid of that and just send in the event. So on update task, let's delete that. And on update task, wherever that is,
To your right.
there we go. Now, here's an unnecessary function call right here. Check this out, right? EVT calls on update task, and on update task just calls set update task. There's no other logic. So we could actually skip all this. We can get rid of this function and just call set update task to the EVT.target.value, and then you don't need that.
Then we don't need what?
The function. So I refactored this to get rid of the on update task function. The language is weird. On update, set update task. Notice I'm just calling set update task.
Oh, okay.
It's no longer calling on update task. So that simply updates our hook. When you change that text box, right? When you change this text box, you're just updating the hook, showing that update task in the text box. Okay.
Go back to code.
Okay, the two things that are left to do is we're just going to turn each task into a task item. Okay, we're going to refactor this into another component, and we're going to use props to send the state down to the child. Also, I also want to bring in the use effect hook. So let's scroll up to the top, and with use effect, what we're going to do is we're going to save our state to local storage. So we're going to persist our data to a hard drive. So let's bring in use effect. And so use effect basically is used to load the page with data from a database or another source, you would say. If it's not a database, we're going to load it from our hard drive, right? The hard drive being another source. Right now, it's basically running in your computer's RAM. If you refresh the page, everything refreshes. There's no persistence of data. And so I'm going to bring in use effect. It is a funny hook. One of the rules of use effect is it has to kind of be up at the top, or at least towards the top. So I've got my tasks here. I'll put my use effect underneath my tasks. Okay, so this is a use effect hook, and we'll get the arrow going and the curlies, close the curly, okay. And so what we're going to do is save our items to local storage. And so that's done with the local storage object, set item singular, set item. I'm going to call our item called tasks. And we're going to take our tasks here and stringify it and save it into local storage. Now there's a second argument here that's kind of a funny little argument here. After use effect, you put comma and then you put tasks here, which basically say here's the short version of how this works. Anytime your tasks modify, anytime you call set tasks, putting this argument here says save your item called tasks anytime tasks changes. So anytime your tasks change, you basically rerun this set item here. And this is just saving our items to local storage. We're not reading from local storage yet, but the way to test this, I might even do a console log use effect called, and clearly I broke something. It says use effect called, and it says I'm having a hard time with your JSON something. It's saying it can't convert. So I had that error earlier. Let me see, task JSON.
I have a question. Does the square brackets need to be inside that parenthesis, not outside it? I thought it came after the curly bracket.
Yours works. Something's up with my string file. I think this syntax is correct. I know what you're right. It does look, it looks weird because it's not your use effect is kind of ending here, right? Let me double check my syntax. Use effect ends right there, comma, tasks. Yeah, I think that's right. JSON dot stringify. It's having a hard time with that. Let me pause and troubleshoot. Okay, I'm still getting this error, but I'm going to take one more step forward, even though my students are getting theirs to work, but what I want to do here is on my task. I don't think this is going to solve my problem. Right now, my tasks are a static here. I'm going to say on my use state, here's my array. Okay, and whoop. First, I'm going to say const local value. I'm going to try and read my my tasks, which I had all capital TASKS. I'm going to try and read local storage get item called tasks, and if local value is null, I'm going to return and here I'll return my array. So if, you know, if there's nothing in local value, return my array. Otherwise, return local value and parse it back into JSON. Now use state, in this case, I need to write it as an arrow function. Since we're doing a little bit more now instead of use state. So if local value is null, return my initial seed data, if you will. Otherwise, return what's in local data. Okay, again, I'm still needing to troubleshoot this problem. So let me troubleshoot that. So a student was able to troubleshoot this, and per the student, if you remove the icons, and I'm just going to temporarily remove the icons. Okay, so the icons really not providing anything for us. And let's bring that back in. Okay. It does. Those icons were breaking it. Interesting. Something about those. Oh, you know what? Trying to stringify an icon?
Oh.
How would you do that?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah,
know
I
how
would
to
do it.
You know what I mean?
I don't
Makes
know.
sense if you think about it.
I don't know if there's a way to store them.
Well,
Can you store the name?
store the name and then, yeah, there's ways around. There's ways around. If you think about it. But, okay, cool. All right, now, I guess, check it out. So we refactored our use state to read from local storage. If it's null, you seed the data. So this if statement is our seed data. Seed data. And if that returns the seed data, otherwise you return this returns from local storage if exists. Cool. And not super caring about these icons. You could just store the name and then render the name and da 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 da. Okay, what does this allow us to do? Let's see. If we delete the task and refresh the page, task is still gone. And this is now working because if we go to application, we can see our tasks being stored on our hard drive now. Our array here has two IDs, 0 and 1. And if I say install new shed, click on plus, we can now see install new shed is also being saved to our hard drive. I believe we can close the tab, open up the new tab, install the new shed, still reading from our hard drive. So that's cool. So far so good. Let us flush this out. One last thing to do, which is what? Which is to refactor each task item into its own component. Yes.
We should bring it back up to the,
All right, so let's kind of get this refactoring going. A lot of different functions we're going to need to set them down. All right, so we can start collapsing this stuff. Looks like we've got a couple hooks. We're probably going to need to send some of that down, maybe. Maybe not. And so there's our use state, there's our use effect. Okay, so here, this is the markup that you would cut and paste, because essentially each task you do this, right? So I'm going to start, before I cut and paste, we're going to into components to do list. Let's create a to do item, to-do-item.jsx. Export default function to do item. It will take in some props. Now I'm going to use object destructuring to kind of get those out of there. But for now, let's return fragment h1 to do item. Okay, so just bare bones it and import this in our to-do list up at the top. So I'm going to import no destructuring here, to do item from the current directory, which is components, to do item, no JSX here, right? It's always fun, like when do you do this and when do you not? In this case, I do not believe we need to. And so here, we go down now, let us cut the LI and paste into here, comment it out, just so we have the code. Okay, and replace that with a to do item. And we'll send the whole task down. Task equals task. And is missing a key, so we'll say key equals task ID, which I believe is task.id. Make sure, yes, task.id. So you used to got underscore ID in Mongo that it's like, yeah.
If you want, I did figure out how you can keep the icon open. There's a little bit different format for it.
Okay, yeah, we can get those icons back in there. That's cool. Let's refinish this. So all this is gonna say is to do item. Of course, we need to send things down, which, well, what buttons were in there? These buttons have set update task. There's a lot of functions we got to send down. So there's one. Okay, now let's kind of start here. We know we're bringing in the task, and here, just to reflect that, we should be able to say task.name, just to make sure we're sending the task down properly. Again, my linter doesn't like that, but I don't see a problem with it. And task is task, task to do item. Wait a minute, it's task.task, it's not task.name, it's task.task. There we go. So we're sending that down. Now we need to be able to do a lot of functions here, so we got to send these functions down, which is both the update task and the set update task. So how do we send that down? Well, update task equals update task. Set update task equals, and curlies, EVT, arrow, set update task, and it takes in how many, right? So update task takes in EVT target value. I'm trying to remember here. EVT target value. Let me double check that. All right, I think my syntax is good there. So now we can accept the update task and the set update task over here. So you come back over here, and we're going to put a comma, update task, comma, set update task. So we receive the field and we receive the function, and that allows us to start bringing that in. I'm going to comment out my H1. Control // I highlight the line, control // comments that out or gets that away. We no longer need a task ID on the key. Is the task in edit mode? Okay, I'm gonna comment out these, and oh, wait a minute. Edit mode is false by default, so we're not even able to get to this to test that until we bring in these functions. So I can't test this. Let's test something else. Task is completed. We got to bring over on check changed. So let's send down red rover, send on check changed over. How about that? On check changed. Let's break this up. Onto lines, because that's helpful. On check changed equals EVT. Let's look at on check change. What does it need? An event and the task. Arrow, on check changed, EVT comma task. That just puts it in edit mode. Right? On check change, no. Oh, that's the is completed. Okay. So on check changed is now being sent down. And we now need to receive that, comma on check changed. And if that works, we should be able to check the box now. You get a thumbs up?
Yep.
We can check and uncheck the box. So we sent that function down. We now need to send down on delete task, of which it just takes a task. So back over here, on delete task equals, we don't need the event, object, on delete task, send down task. And then we need to receive on delete task. Okay, so now launch it back up. Delete task. Check it, delete the task. Cool. Of course, now we need on edit task, sending the task over, so it's getting a little repetitive now. On edit task, no event object. On edit task, send over task. Receive on edit task. That should put it into edit mode. Looking good. We can't cancel it yet because that's up here. However, we should be able to update the task. Keep closing it. Open it up. Okay. We're getting this. Update task. Oh. Now update task. Set update task. Okay, so update task is this. We're sending those both down. And okay, somewhere else we set the update task. So I think there's another function here. Yeah, on save task. Let's see. Yeah, that does that. Okay, let's see what it's doing right now. If I click on cancel, let's see. I've got this weird limbo state because I've got this task that I can't delete. I can't get out of. Let me bring down these other functions here, and maybe that'll actually just resolve it. So I need to bring over on save and on cancel click. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the weird state by deleting my tasks in local storage and then refresh to kind of get it back. Now if I edit the task, okay, canceling's not working and saving's not working.
I have a question. On your,
I have to bring in on save task. That's my problem here. On save task and on cancel click. Okay. Check, edit. Okay, all that's left is getting this text box to change. And I think that is done with my update task. So it's an empty string. And I call it on edit task. Which is when I go into edit mode. So this turns on edit mode, which calls set update task. That's why the text box has the task in the first place, right? So when I go into edit mode, it says pass the exam. It's just not allowing me to update. So if I go here, the function set update task should be sent down. And let's just pass down the event object. That's probably what I need to do. So I can send down the event object to my
what is task that task?
task.text is a string.
Oh, okay.
This one was a little funny because I actually got rid of a function, but maybe I need to bring it back. I'm not quite sure. I believe I can fix it, but let's go. Okay. What did I change? I didn't send the. I just sent the whole event down on set update task.
something
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, it was something similar. I sent down the value instead of the whole event. Well, I sent the whole event down, and that allows me to then pull out the value here. Okay. Huzzah. Back to the browser again. Make sure all of our functionality is working. Okay. Edit a task, cancel. Edit a task, cancel. Edit a task, learn to React 2, save it. Check it, delete it, refresh, add task. Ooh, don't want to do that. Probably. You might check if an empty string. All right. It's, not perfect, but we've met all the requirements. You could spend more time on it, but read a list of tasks, check. Add a task, check. Mark it as completed, check. Delete any task, check. Edit a task, check. View a subset of tasks, all tasks, or only the active tasks, or only the completed task. Okay. One more thing to do.
If you edit it and then cancel it instead of saving, does it actually not save?
If you edit it,
Yeah, like add something onto there and hit cancel. Okay,
yeah, we fix that. Check.
I think we just go ahead and
All right.
what's wrong?
Okay. The next requirement is to view a subset of tasks. All is one. Active or completed. Now we don't have any that are marked active. I guess that's the opposite of not completed, right? So either they're completed, they're not completed, or they're all. So, we need a new control to filter. It would make sense to make this control a drop-down list. And you can make a drop-down list pretty easily. But then ultimately we're mapping, this is mapping all. This UL is mapping all. But maybe we need to not map all. We might need to map only the completed, or is completed as false, right? So we've got this Boolean up here. Of course, filtering is something we will do, so this is pretty relevant to useful for what we'll do in the future. So all tasks is completed to true or is completed to false. Let's go ahead and wire up a control. Where do we want the control, I suppose, is the first question. To-do list, maybe next to my H1, just a little filter. So to-do list is an H1. Let's throw a div around that H1, or how about a header tag, right? A header tag and class name of dflex to make these children in a row. And let's bust open the get bootstrap docs for a select control. Pretty basic select tag, of which class name of form select.
Rankin just sent out a notification that.
Hold on. Okay, we just came back from an extended break here. We're gonna have to finish this up another day. So to be continued in part 3.